Morning, tubers. Happy early morning to you. I really have given this a lot of thought, and this explanation may really suck because this is something that it's one of those things that I know, but I may have a lot of trouble trying to express. So I'm going to give it my best shot. When I was a kid, I used to feel this tremendous connection with the boys. And it was an unsaid, didn't have to think about connection. It just happened. It was like if there was a whole group of kids over here and a whole group of kids over here, and this group was girls and this group was boys, naturally I went to the group that I thought I had the greatest connection with. If I look back on my childhood, I can remember about 2 or 3 girls that were my friends. But my best friend in high school was a guy. Actually, it was 2 of them. We were like the 3 musketeers, the 3 of us. When I got out on my own, I worked in construction and refineries. I wore hard hats and I built pipes. I put pipes together in refineries. And I was usually the only female in amongst 2,000 to 3,000 guys on those jobs. So my friends were just guys. The women in my life, like my mother, my sister, and then as I got older, I did finally make some more female friends. They seem to have this natural way of being. This natural way of being a woman. There were so many things I didn't understand. The way they thought, the things that they liked or didn't like, and I know those seem like shallow things, and it's not the things themselves. Okay, so it's not like we discussed before, right? It's not the fact that you didn't want to wear dresses, or you played with all the boys, or you did, you played the Tonka trucks and not the dolls, and that's not really the indicator. But it's the only way. Those are the descriptors. That's how people try to get you to understand, people in my world, how they knew. So it's not necessarily the Tonka truck and not playing with the Barbie doll, more than it is the interaction, the thought process, the inherent, almost like subconscious thought process that happens to be who you are. Okay? And then when I try to explain to people what it's like to have a gender variant life, it gets difficult because I can't, I know it. Remember I told you in the last video, how does somebody know if they're a transitional individual? They just do. It's in here, and we can manifest our explanations by trying our best to give you things that we think you're going to understand. So when I was a child, I did this, this, and this. And then when I got to puberty, this happened, this happened, this happened. Even when I try to describe what dysphoria is to somebody, even somebody new who thinks they're transitional, it's really, really hard. It's really hard to tell you that it was awkward, and in terms that awkward doesn't even cover. So here's some examples of things in my life that I understood, experiences I had, things I knew, that led me to understand that transition for me was the right thing to do. Now, these things could apply to anybody, but in my context, in my terms, in my brain, this is how I can explain it to you. There hasn't been a single day in my life since I was a child that I haven't thought about somebody's gender. It is a constant thought. Constant and continuous, and I have no idea how to turn it off. I don't think I ever can. I would like to know what it's like not to be questioning gender, mine or anyone else's. You know, to be like my mom, who wakes up every day, she's perfectly content being the woman she is. She loves being beautiful. She likes little frilly things. She does her, but she does it because she's a woman. That's what she is. That's her brain matches her body, and she's connected, and so she doesn't have to consider it. Her biggest consideration about gender ever in her life was boys and people she wanted to date, and my father, and maybe, her trips to the gynecologist or giving birth, those kinds of things. But those were gender normative to her. She didn't stress over them. So she has this gender normative connection, and she doesn't have to think about gender all the time. Well, I have. My entire life I've thought about gender. When I look back at my upbringing, when I look back at old pictures of me, when I think about where I was when I was a child, the things that I like to do, and I was rough, and I was aggressive, and I was, I actually believed for a long time that I had been born a boy and somebody had changed me, and it wasn't until I got to a certain age where I realized that was a dream, and that can't really happen. But I believed that for a long time when I was little. I migrated towards male everything. It's the easiest path to follow. For me, that was the boy side. In here, naturally, I connected. And the girls were this totally foreign world to me. I didn't get it. Even today, I don't get it. Girls do things I just do not understand. And I never have. And it used to be so ironic because some of my guy friends would ask me, way back in the day, they'd be like, so why do girls do this and that? And I'd be like, I don't know. You're asking the wrong person because I don't know. I'm not a girl, so I don't know. I didn't know that at the time. It wasn't the way I answered them, but I really didn't know. And I told them, I don't get it. I didn't understand it. I didn't know why I didn't know it at that time. When I got older and I started having more female friends and I was around them more often, I could see it. I saw it more. Like, they just knew how to be a girl. The same as I just know how to be a boy. I can't tell you how I know that. I can tell you that I am most comfortable in a group of men. I communicate with them. I understand them. They understand me. It's not a difficult thing for me. I haven't had to relearn anything or change the way I do anything in my life to transition. Now, there have been a couple of socialization issues I've had to deal with. Like, you have to remind yourself that as a man, you can't do things that you used to do, certain things. They'll be frowned on. You have to be more careful around children, and there's an interaction with people. Sometimes it's a little bit different, but for the most part, those were socialization issues that I had to deal with. They didn't really have to do with my inherent qualities, the things that I was born with. So I didn't have to learn how to be a man. That's the big deal. I didn't have to learn, like, even simple things like taking care of my facial hair. That's natural to me. That feels normal to me. That's what every man on the planet has to deal with. It's part of their body. It's the way it works. And that's normal to me. All those things that women had to deal with. I never, ever bought my own bras. All those years, you know who bought them for me? My mother. She would buy them and then mail them to me. And I can remember the very last time that I had to go on this stupid endeavor to buy these damn things. And my mother went with me, and we went to Victoria's Secret, and we're in this big, giant changing room. It was huge. I mean, it was like you could have had a party in there and had a 50-person orgy. It was that big. And there's this lady that's trying to help pick all this shit out, and I am utterly uncomfortable. And we go into this room, my mother's in there, and you would think, I guess, I'm supposed to be comfortable being around another woman like that, but I never was. I couldn't do it. I made her turn around, I went way to the other side at the corner, I put it on, and then, of course, it just killed me to sit there and have to show her so she could tell me if it was right. I was much happier when she was just buying them at mail-order. It was a traumatic experience for me, and I do not know how to explain why that is. If doing those types of activities is normal to you, then I would suspect that you're just a butch. You're just a happy woman butch. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being masculine or feminine and having that even be a bit of a disconnection from your gender. There are feminine men, there are feminine women, there are masculine men and masculine women. Because feminine and masculine traits or characteristics do not define our gender. Because your gender is in here. But I think that your gender definitely defines the ease of your life, your ability to be, well shit, just your ability to exist. So, right now, even with all of the stresses I've had to go through to transition, what I can tell you is my life is easier. Because there was this huge weight that's been walking around on my shoulders for 40 years, trying to fit in somewhere I didn't understand and I didn't belong. And there is no way and no amount of words where I can explain to you in a way that will really truly be able to express how it feels. And I wish I could. I wish I had more to give you. I wish it was easier to help people understand, because the difficulty in the explanation is part of the difficulty in society's acceptance. And that's a reality of my life. I like my life now. Crazy? I don't know. And I was trying to tell you, when I look at a picture of myself before, I see this woman who just doesn't even look comfortable with herself. She looks awkward because she felt awkward, because she didn't belong. Because when she took pictures or she looked in the mirror, it didn't look right. Something was off. Now, I'm a vain son of a bitch, okay? It's funny, maybe, I don't know, but I look in the mirror now and I'm like, that's it. I know that sounds really, really cocky, and I'm sorry. Well, it is. But it's a whole new feeling for me to appreciate that kind of, I don't know. I wish I could give you a better explanation.